As of writing the script, the 2022 NBA Finals have ended. But the question I have is what's next for the Warriors franchise after the season ends? Both Wiggins and Poole are due for extensions, with Golden State already paying a 9-figure luxury tax as it stands now. This brings up 3 questions the organization needs to ask themselves this offseason. Should they extend them? Can they extend them? And how much do they need to spend in order to keep them both? The first question is simple for us to answer. Both Poole and Wiggins should be kept if possible, and if they're both willing to accept their future roles. Both can't easily be replaced for cheap, and I believe it's easier to retain the talent they have than to acquire it in free agency or hope their young players develop. You need to remember that both Poole and especially Wiggins were instrumental to their run, with the Warriors probably not even making it to the second round without just Wiggins. But are there any other options besides extending? Trading either of them is still a possibility, but would they receive anyone that's a net positive that fits the timeline of their core better? Probably not. The Warriors have done a great job balancing current success with future talent, something dynasties struggle with. What they need to be careful of though is jumping the gun with their rebuild and acquiring talent that needs time to develop before performing, something Wiggins and Poole both don't really need. A side note that Klay's owed $80 million over the next few years should at least be mentioned. Whether they choose to do something with him is doubtful, considering his position with the franchise, but a player with a skill set is always valuable in the league. The second question is also fairly easy to answer from a spectator's point of view, and that is, can the Warriors extend both? The answer is technically yes if the ownership is willing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in luxury taxes, probably closer to $200 million. The NBA has no set hard cap unless you participate in a sign and trade or a couple other niche circumstances. That being said, it has been shown time and time again that the Warriors ownership group is willing to dish out the cash needed in order to contend. Why wouldn't they? The Warriors are estimated to bring in $800 million in revenue this year alone. Is spending $400 million on player salaries the craziest thing? Bringing in Wiggins' contract in the first place was a risk they were willing to take. So why would they question it now? Especially that they see the results from the roster they currently have. With Wiggins and Poole both relatively young, healthy, and improving, is it crazy to say they can still contend next year, holding the overall team up a constant? Now for how much they would have to be willing to give up, I'm going to give my own personal thoughts given the state of the league and the running rate of similar players. With Poole and Wiggins specifically, I've seen the most absurd polar opposites when guessing how much they would command. Firstly, I think both are going to look for longer-term 4-year deals. Poole's $3 million isn't going to cut it, and I can see him trying to lock up a large first payday. I'd expect him to sign anywhere from $20 to $25 million a year considering his age and player profile. Tim Hardaway and the player whose contract I think will resemble Poole's the most, Norman Powell, are all right comparisons. Powell's 5-year $90 million is what I think a reasonable team would be willing to pay for Poole's talent and the potential he has. Wiggins, on the other hand, will be much more difficult to gauge, however, considering there aren't a lot of wings of his borderline all-star profile to compare him to. That evaluation coming from a major fan of his. I also think Golden State is going to have to match close to what the open market would give them, as I do think that Wiggins would stay for a discount, but rightfully not something more than a couple $1 million. With Wiggins definitely looking for an extension after his great playoff run, Golden State is going to have to bite the bullet and sign him, despite whether or not he remains with the team during that extension. I think the best contract comparison for Wiggins would be Pascal Siakam's 4-year, $137 million contract he signed a little while ago, coincidentally also after a championship run in which he burst into the mainstream. At worst, I see him signing around Randall's 4-year, $117 million the Knicks game for some reason. I do think Wiggins will be in the $25 to $35 million range, probably signing for 3 years for $120 or 4 years for $150. Crazy considering those are the numbers and his last contract everyone didn't seem to like, but a great playoff run does speak volumes. It is important to keep in context that Wiggins is 27 years old and an Iron Man in his time within the league so far. Overall, I'm actually pretty optimistic and believe that Golden State will end up extending both for the foreseeable future. With Steph's prime realistically drawing to a close, the Warriors need to make the most of their championship window now. I personally think the route they should go is extend both, seeing how next season plays out, and trade Wiggins next offseason if they don't win the championship, hoping Kuminga develops and can pull some of Wiggins' weight for significantly cheaper. Similar things can be said with Poole and Moody as well. Again, Thompson and Green making the money they do, with Green eligible for an extension soon as well, really limits the Warriors, with them needing to make some important decisions in their near future. Make sure to comment your thoughts on the Warriors offseason plans, and make sure to like and subscribe to keep up with the content I'll be putting out.